For instance, you may be a person that, there's nothing in scriptures that say eating steak is wrong. But if all you ever do is eat steak and your cholesterol goes through the roof and your body is breaking down, you better be careful. Maybe that might be spiritually profitable for everybody else, but for you it may not be so. So you need to be careful. That's a silly example, but there are a lot of things like that. There may be certain TV shows that others can watch that maybe because they might cause you to sin or cause you to think about something you shouldn't, that maybe you shouldn't. I can't make those determinations for you, and I will not. No, they're basic. I think there's some basic decisions and parameters when you're making your entertainment choices that you need to be very clear on. Each person has to draw the line, but we also want to draw a line where the Scripture does. Scripture is very clear about what we should put into our mind. Philippians 4, where things are honest, true, good report, virtue. Goes on, the list goes on and on. We need to be very, very careful of what we put into our eye gate, but some have tried to make lists of do's and don'ts, and I think that's an impossibility. That doesn't mean institutions can't do that. I know institutions do while they have their students, those type of things, and that's fine. And they need to do so for their institutional reasons, but as a church, we can't do that. You have to ask yourself, is this going to build me up? Is this profitable for me to do? It might be lawful, it might be perfectly fine for me to do whatever, X, Y, or Z. But it might not be to my spiritual advantage. It might not be helpful for me personally. Secondly, and then also I think we should ask ourselves, will it cultivate godliness in my life? There are many activities that may be fine to do, but they might not be cultivating godliness in your life, so you might need to give it up. That can happen. Now, I'll give you another silly example. Sleep. Nothing wrong with sleep. We all need sleep. Some of us need less sleep than others. Some of us need more. But, there can come a point where if we sleep too much, there comes a point where we don't sleep enough, we're not going to function. There comes a point where we sleep too much, we're not going to get anything done. Sleep is necessary. We all need it, and there's a certain amount of sleep that each one of us needs that will be to our advantage. That will help us live our life to please God in what we're doing in our daily lives. I think that's true with a lot of different things in our life. So we have to ask ourselves: will this be spiritually profitable me to do this activity? This is a question you can ask yourself, and so that doesn't mean. Having a box in your house that you get television programs through is sinful? No. But boy, you need to be careful what you watch. You need to be careful what you think about, what you're reading. You need to be careful, all those types of things. But you need to ask yourself, is this profitable for me or is it tearing me down? Those are questions only you can answer. Secondly, will it build me up spiritually? Turn up for this one. Stay in 1 Corinthians, but turn to chapter 10. Turn to chapter 10. And I want you to start at verse 19. A lot of different verses here. And I know our time is short, but I think these are important for us to look at. Look at verse 19 of 1 Corinthians chapter 10. What am I saying then? That an idol is nothing. Or what is offered to idols is anything. Rather, that the things which Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to demons and not to God. And I do not want you to have fellowship with demons. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons. You cannot partake of the Lord's table and the table of demons. Or do we provoke the Lord to jealousy? Are we stronger? Notice verse 23. All things are lawful to me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. Let no one seek his own, but each his own well-being. He said, what in the world is he talking about? Let me give you a little bit of context. One of the things that was going on in the church at Corinth is kind of hard for us to understand because it doesn't translate to us today. It actually does when we stop and think about it, but we have to understand the context of what Paul was talking about. Corinth was a very wealthy city. It was also a city that was kind of like a lot of major cities today. It had a lot of different things going on, a lot of good things and a lot of bad. One of the bad things that was going on in the church of Corinth was you had a whole industry devoted to worshiping an idol named Diana. And the worship of Diana had a lot of bad things associated with it. It wasn't that it was just that you were just worshiping a false god, if that would have been bad enough. But actually, the worship of Diana also involved immorality, specifically the physical and sexual kind. There were people in the church of Corinth who were saved out of that, and the Lord gloriously changed them. And there are other people who were in the church of Corinth that were saved from other backgrounds, had nothing to do with the worship of Diana.